Well, hi TYB, welcome to the book of Hosea. I am going to congratulate you on studying this book. It is an unusual book. It's a little weird, but the gems and the depth of this book you are going to love. Now, the book of Hosea is found in your Old Testament. It is the first of your minor prophet section. So, do you remember in the Old Testament we have 17 prophetic books, 5 major and 12 minor. Now, this is the first of your minor prophet sections, and it is the first book in order because it's the longest. It's 14 chapters, but in chronological order it actually should be around the same time, if not after Amos. So this text is unusual from the beginning, I'm not going to lie. It's a little weird that God would command a prophet to go and marry a promiscuous woman and have children to demonstrate his heartbreak over Israel. But then I flip this and I have absolutely loved studying this text and really seeing the heart of God. I'm going to talk about in the dive this week, in this section, how sometimes we just think God's a robot, and when we're disobedient, he really genuinely doesn't care. But Hosea contradicts that. The book of Hosea says, you go and marry a promiscuous woman and have children that walk away from you and see how you feel. See how you feel when this happens to you, because this is how the heartache and the heartbreak that I feel all the time over my covenant people Israel. This heartbreak and this of them prostituting themselves with other gods and walking away from me in rebellion. I'm going to show you, Hosea, the heartbreak that is to me, that my people just walk away. And I love that we really, one of the few books in the Bible that we get to see God's real heartache over his people Israel. Most of the Old Testament is about covenant and agreements and contracts almost, whereas this is really about how does the bridegroom feel when the bride walks away? How does the husband feel when the wife walks away? How does the father feel when the children walk away? So really, TYB, jump into the depth of emotion that God is in, and you're going to love it. Now, what are we reading? Genre of this? It's a mix of everything. It's got prophetic messages and tragedy speeches. You can hear the court language come through quite strong. You can hear the charge against Israel and the judgment against Israel and then the punishment. So the court language is very strong in this. We've got metaphors and imagery that you can really roll into. I have loved just highlighting all the metaphors and sitting in and really getting an understanding of how God feels in this situation. There's a little bit funny sarcasm in there. It's like a baby too stupid to be born, and it's really amazing. Now it jumps. And I found this a little hard, but it jumps from first person to third person. Sometimes it's God speaking, sometimes it's a Hosea speaking, and it's not necessarily in any order. So hear that. Sometimes it's direct speech from God, you did this. Sometimes it's Hosea saying, my God. So notice that as you get through. But you are going to, as I said, love this. This is a time. What date is this? We know from Hosea, he's the prophet, so he's actually giving us the date. It's the word of the Lord that came to Hosea, son of Beeri, during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and during the reign of Jeroboam, son of Joash, king of Israel. Now again, jump in your prophet timeline. We are here. We're in the similar time as Amos is prophesying in Micah. We are just before the northern kingdom. So Israel is taken into exile. So he's warning them, saying, guys, this is the heartache of God over you. And this text really would have been, one, a warning to Israel, and once they were taken into exile, a reason of why they were taken into exile, but also a warning to Judah to remain. You're going to hear this sound of Israel and Judah, Israel and Judah. Israel, I'm against you. Judah, don't be led astray. And I want you to really notice the difference. What he's doing is talking to Israel. He addresses Israel as Ephraim, because Ephraim is the second son, and he talks about the Ephraim similarly as Israel, and then he addresses Judah. So you've got this sound. I have absolutely loved, as I said, studying this text, because we know it's dated in this time, but it's got this beautiful history to it. As you go through, he points to the heartache of God in history, of the history of Israel. He says, do you remember when this happened in Bethel? Do you remember when this happened in Gilgal? And what I did was I actually jumped back and found in Kings and Chronicles what he was talking about and read what was happening. And you really get to understand from this prophet the heartache of God. Now, this prophet is quite rare rare because some of the prophetic books don't actually give you the personal life and the personal feelings of the prophet. Jeremiah does a little bit, but the other ones don't. It's mainly the message. Whereas Hosea, you hear the heart of the prophet because God has put him in prophetic symbolism, this prophetic symbolism of him marrying and having children that are walking away, and you hear his heartache. I have to say, I read it in this great commentary. By the way, David Allen Hubbard, great commentary on Hosea. I know I always lean towards these Tyndale Old Testament commentaries, but they seem to be just such easy language. So if you do need more help and you want to know a bit of the history when they jump into it, jump into this commentary. It's really very good. But as you go through, you're going to hear, the massacre of Jehu and Ephraim and Baal Peor, Baalpeor, and that's in Numbers. So jump into the history of this text, and your commentary will really help you with that. There is so much to this book. The theology of this book is a covenant relationship, judgment, hope, the bride and the bridegroom, this understanding of Hosea and Gomer. I just mixed up their names. Hosea and Gomer, and God and Israel, representing the bride. And this is in the New Testament, really this understanding of where we get the bride and the bridegroom being Christ and the bride being the church. This Hosea introduces this concept that he's not just God. He's not sitting up there with this angry. He is the husband that is longing for his bride, and she's off serving another god. And you're going to hear this personal heartache of God. And to be honest, as I was reading it, I got a fresh understanding of God. I got a fresh understanding of, you're not sitting up there judgmental and I don't care if people turn away from me. The heartache of God over his people. And he picks through and he says, you broke my heart when you did that. You broke my heart when you did that. And it's this beautiful understanding of the nature of God. When things happen, he's not distant. He is heartbroken. So I really want you to get that, TYB. Again, I know the prophetic message in this book is kind of hard to grapple with. Why did God tell the prophet to do that? But really, this is these incredible texts of Hosea, the author. They say Hosea was about 19 to 20 years old when he was told to marry this woman. I have to say, the names of the children, these poor kids. Let's jump into Hosea 1. One kid, the Lord said to Hosea, call him Jezreel, because I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre of Jezreel. The next one is Lo Rumiah, which means not loved. That's one of his sons. And then the next son is Lo Ami, which means not my people. Can you imagine going to school and saying, what's your name? Oh, I'm not loved. This prophetic symbolism in this book is a little weird but incredible. So jump into this text. You've got the idolatry of Israel and the heartache of God saying, you are my people, you are my created. I created you in my image, yet you have walked away. Absolutely wrestle with the imagery and the heartbeat of God for his people. Have a ball in Hosea.